is Histories and Mysteries. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Nim.
Oh.
My cat. She's hanging out with us today.
She's a cutie. We love her. She was like a street kitty.
Yeah. Yep.
Cute. We love her. And on this week's episode, Ashley is going to be talking about the Michigan Dog Man.
Yeah.
And I am going to be talking about the Snowtown murders.
Which you said is pretty awful.
Pretty awful.
Cool.
Yeah. So good luck.
Yay.
Love that for all of us.
Well, the Michigan Dog Man is not awful. It's pretty fun. It's a cryptid.
Oh, fun.
And so I'm from Michigan, so I thought it was pretty fun that I should do this. And I got my sources from Wikipedia, Reddit, and what was her name again? LindaGodfrey.com.
Oh, all very credible sources.
Yes. Well, I mean, he's a dog man, so how credible are we going to get with this?
I mean, is he real?
Is he real or not? It's up to you to decide. So, according to legend, there is a half dog, half man roaming around northern Michigan. So, for you Canadians, Michigan has two peninsulas. If you didn't know, they have the Lower Peninsula and the Upper Peninsula. And I believe this guy is mostly seen in the Upper Peninsula, but also in like northern Michigan, northern of the Lower Peninsula. So he is said to be a 7-foot tall monster with the head of a...
It's Bruno.
Bruno.
I just finished watching Encanto with Evie.
Oh.
And then the song is 7-foot frame.
Yeah.
It's just Bruno.
So long is back.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that
Bruno.
movie.
Evie's starting to like sing parts of the songs and it's wild.
Cute.
I know.
Well, this is a 7-foot tall Bruno monster.
Okay.
With the head of a dog and the torso of a man.
Oh.
Yeah. It is also said to have either blue or amber eyes and a howl that sounds like a human scream.
Which would you prefer, the head of a man or the head of a wolf?
Like on me?
Or to like see?
To see?
Yeah.
So like the head of a man on a wolf body?
Yeah.
I think I'd rather see the head of a wolf on a man body.
Yeah, I agree.
The other one would be, well, the other one would probably be funny looking. I'd probably laugh at
also,
it.
like super horrifying to look at.
That would be
it's like a centaur, but a lot smaller.
So would the human head have like hair on it, or would it just be like a regular like bald head that goes into like a hairy wolf body?
Ew. I would hope that individual had hair on its head. I think it would just like nothing against bald people because like you do you, but I think that would just be a lot creepier having like a bald head and then a hairy ass body.
Hairy body. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
So the first sighting of the dog man occurred all the way back in 1886. Definitely 1887. I don't know why 6 came out of my mouth. In Wexford County. While working, a couple of lumberjacks noticed him. Since then, many sightings of this creature have been reported throughout Michigan, with the majority coming from the northern quadrant. One such story was a man who was fishing along the Muskegon River in 1938 when he was attacked by a pack of wild dogs. He scared the majority of them away by firing his shotgun into the air, but one seemed unfazed by the gun, instead standing on its hind legs and staring at the man.
Ew.
Similar sightings have become more common in Allegan County throughout the 1950s. Then in the 1960s, people in Cross Village, Big Rapids, and Manistee County reported seeing the beast. And these are all in like northern Michigan.
No.
Just so you know.
No.
In 1987, for some reason, sevens are a struggle for me today. In Traverse City, Michigan, which is one of my favorite cities in Michigan.
Traverse City's pretty dope.
Yeah, you've been there?
Yeah, of course.
I love Traverse City. DJ Steve Cook recorded a song about the Dogman legend. Despite the fact that it was supposed to be a prank, dozens of calls about supposed encounters from his listeners came in after the song's release. And Rich Brower of Traverse City and his production company, Brower Productions, have produced 2 films about the Dogman. So I have 2 kind of lengthy encounters with the Dogman. And one is from a user named Tiger Lily Dreams.
Oh, I was really hoping it was like your own encounter.
Oh, no, I've never encountered anything ever in life.
You're so disappointing as a podcast host.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you.
Thank you. Yeah, so this one was Tiger Lily Dreams. You can pretend like this is from me, Jessica.
Okay.
My Dogman encounter happened on a season opener in November of 2013 in the eastern Upper Peninsula of Michigan on family hunting property near a town called Cedarville. So in Michigan, the opening day of deer hunting season is November 15th, my birthday. So that's what she means when she says season opener.
Oh, I went immediately to baseball.
Yeah, no, hunting season. It's a big thing in Michigan. Yeah. The house my husband and I were staying in up there had a big front yard, but other than that cleared area and the gravel driveway, everything else is pretty deep hardwoods forest. I also want to state ahead of time that this happened at around 11 p.m., so everything that's beyond the porch lights was pretty hard to see. My husband and I had gone outside to have a cigarette, and we took our rifle with us whenever we were hanging around outside because there's bears and stuff back there. You know, you just never know. You want to be safe. I was up on the porch still, and my husband had gone down the steps into the yard and was facing towards me when we heard a really heavy, slow footstep coming up the driveway through the woods.
Ew.
It sounded like a really big man, but there was this weird heavy breathing like I have right now. She's like sitting like in a spot where it's so hard for me to breathe right now.
Oh,
so like if you hear me like struggling to breathe, that's why. Yes. Yeah, sorry, my baby in my belly.
Oh, she like in your ribs?
Yeah, I swear she's sitting like right on my lungs. So if you hear me struggling to breathe, that's why. And the footsteps, even though they sounded like a person, sounded heavier than anything I had ever heard walking in the woods, including a full-sized adult bear. My husband looked at me and mouthed, "What the fuck?" And I was trying to figure out what it was that I was hearing, but nothing I had ever heard out there in those woods in my whole life matched the size and breathing and gait of whatever this was. So I was confused and shaking my head. My husband isn't a hunter and grew up in the city, so he was completely confused too. I've hunted and tracked basically everything that's indigenous to northern Michigan since I was small. So I was honestly terrified that this animal was a complete unknown to me by sound. I walked out of the tree line at the edge of the yard behind my husband, and it was a lot taller than him, at least 7 feet tall or more. And I'd estimate the weight for its size around 400 pounds.
Oh, wow. That is not a wolf.
Yeah. It was on 2 legs.
Ew.
And had super dark black fur that was somehow even darker than the nighttime dark of the woods.
You know this?
What?
You know what this reminds me of?
The
Wendigo.
Yeah, kind of. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Michigan's own like Wendigo, yeah. It was walking back and forth at that distance from us the whole time this encounter happened, but it would not step into where the perimeter of the porch light was. I had a really hard time making out its torso for that reason, but I saw a wolf-like head and a snout with pointed ears that stuck straight up, and instead of front legs and paws, it had really disproportionately long arms and hands. It was on its two legs the whole time, just walking back and forth. I freaked out and grabbed the rifle and just started shooting at it and yelling at my husband to run and get up on the porch. So he did, and then he took a gun from me and told me to find something to use as a weapon and go inside and hide. So I did. I got a big knife and I went and locked myself in our bedroom in the closet, and I could hear my husband shooting and reloading a bunch for about another 10 minutes. He came in and told me through the closet door that the dog man had finally run off, but he wasn't sure if it was going to possibly come back. So we were both pretty terrified and ended up staying in that closet all night until sunrise.
Oh, no.
He told me that he thought I had hit it when I was shooting at first, but the next day we didn't find any blood or hair or anything, which was weird because I really thought I must have shot and wounded it a couple of times. It moved incredibly fast, though, and was agile enough to run through the bush and stuff without really mowing it down or making a bunch of noise like big animals do. The whole encounter was incredibly weird and scary. My husband also said that he did see it sort of hunch over and drop down onto all fours a few times while it was running back and forth at the edge of the yard. But then when it ran away for good that night, that it was running insanely fast on two legs like a man. We didn't smell anything bad like a lot of people describe when they see these things, and it didn't even leave any noticeable tracks anywhere, even though the thing was so heavy when it walked up the gravel driveway that I swore the ground near it must have been shaking. We found out later from one of the neighbors that he had seen it too next door the winter before when it came up on the porch of his cabin and looked in the door window during a party he and his wife had been throwing. He said he heard really heavy footsteps on the porch and pulled back the curtain on the window, and the dog man was standing there on the other side of the glass looking down at him, but that its fur was white then. I think that's probably because there was snow on the ground at this point in the year. My neighbor
It
hollered.
camouflages.
Yes.
Ew.
My neighbor hollered at everyone in the cabin and told them what he had just seen, and then everyone decided to make a run for it through the woods to his mom's house next door, since her place was a lot sturdier than the hunting cabin. I've known that neighbor my whole life, practically since high school, and he would never make something like that up. He was scared even while he was talking about it. I also read online recently that another family about 45 minutes north of our area had a bunch of livestock like cows and horses turn up dead and torn up by some kind of big predator. And that one of the guys in the family saw a giant upright wolf back near his hunting blind during deer season, which of course freaked me out since we had our experience on season opener.
Ew. I hate that story.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that it just camouflages itself.
I know.
Like, oh.
All right, I have one more encounter.
Okay.
And this is from a lady named Tina who wrote into Linda Godfrey at lindagodfrey.com.
Who is Linda Godfrey?
I don't know, some lady.
Okay.
She's got a blog of like a bunch of different encounters of different cryptids and creepy things. It's pretty cool if you want to check it out.
Interesting.
All right, so this happened back in 2001. I was only 8 years old at the time. My friend who was with me at the time was 7. We were both very small. I remember it was early August, and I live in a semi-inner city in Michigan next to a very large park at the time. At the time, my friend and I had decided it was a great idea to play in my very big backyard at night because the neighbors had a bonfire going. It just barely lit the portion of my yard through a bunch of trees. We had climbed onto the shed via the neighbor's fence and a propped board. I mention this because it's nearly impossible to climb to this day being an adult. Anyway, we had our feet dangling off the shed with our backs facing toward the park. And without a word, my friend had jumped off the highest part of our shed, which we were never able to do. I mean, he practically flew and headed straight for the house. After a long few seconds, I turned around to see why he ran, and there was this thing. It looked half dog and half human. There's really no other way to describe it. It had to have been over 8 feet high, the height of the shed, and its reaching length was over 4 feet. Its ears alone had to have been a foot long at least. And its eyes did that thing that cat's eyes do when light reflects on them in the dark. Its hand was inches away from my ankle. Very, very hairy body. It was basically a dog. I don't exactly remember the color of it, if it even had a color, but I do remember that whatever it was standing from the ground because we didn't have a chain link fence. It was all parallel wood that you couldn't stand on. And this thing was massive, so tall that I could see it from its middle torso and up. This was literally the fastest I've ever rolled away. I don't even remember how I got down. Ran inside and told our parents. We had no idea what it was at the time, so I vaguely remember telling my mom there was a tall man outside with very hairy arms and big ears. All of the adults went outside really quick to check, but I guess they never found anything. To this day, I am still afraid of the fact that what I saw was a man in a very elaborate movie horror costume and almost abducted me, or I saw the dog man of Michigan.
Or Jacob.
Oh, I was like, who's Jacob? And then I caught up from Twilight.
Yes. Just stuck between the morphing stage.
Shit. Yeah, so that is the dog man of Michigan.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, so that was a cute little cryptid to talk about.
Yeah, we don't do cryptids too often. So that's cool.
We don't.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, now let's hear your horrible story.
My murder story?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm smiling about that, but my husband recommended this to me.
Okay.
I tell him to try and find stories for me because yeah. So he sent this to me and he didn't let me know how terrible it was. And so I started reading it and I looked over at him and I said,
You're a butthead.
Yeah. Basically. Come on. Okay. So me and my Marvel shirt.
I love it.
Thanks. Is it ready to go? Okay. Oh no. My sources. So I used medium.com and ranker.com.
Oh, I've used both of those good sites.
Amazing. Most people living outside of South Australia had never heard of Snowtown until 1999. Snowtown, a quiet country community in the South Australian farming region, is located off a main road. It's the kind of a small town where the only other amenities are a pub and a corner shop.
Gotcha.
And visitors who aren't just passing through rarely come there or rarely go there.
Yeah.
For the first time in its history, Snowtown made headlines on May 20th, 1999. Police discovered 6 barrels filled with acid inside the town's abandoned former bank vault after receiving multiple reports of people going missing.
Oh no, barrels of acid is never good.
The bodies of 8 deceased people were found decaying inside of the barrels. After the discovery, the word Snowtown came to mean murder. Australia, a country with a low homicide rate, was startled by the killings since it had never been experienced before. When it became clear that the killings were not carried out by a lone, insane person, the nation's shock grew even more.
Wait, there was more than one person?
Yeah.
Oh no.
By a quartet.
4 people? How do you find 4 people that crazy?
This story shook me.
Oh my gosh.
It is. I am so sorry. You all get to experience it with me. So, despite the fact that they were ultimately responsible for 11 killings. 8 remains were discovered within the barrels in the bank vault. So they're estimated there's at least 11.
Oh my gosh.
3 men, James Vlasikis, Robert Wagner, and John Bunting, were principally responsible for the killings. Mark Hayden, a 4th individual, was also found guilty of assisting in the body's disposals. The murders were carried out with shocking brutality, and the majority of the victims were tortured to death.
Oh, God.
Knives, saws, shotguns, rope, tape, and a metal instrument used for electrocution were among the items the murderous gang was found to be in possession of.
Oh my gosh.
The group's leader was John Bunting, who was born on September 4th, 1966, in Inala, Queensland. He was found guilty of murder in connection with the deaths of 11 people, and he was also charged with the attempted murder of a 12th victim. He is currently incarcerated for 11 life terms without the chance of parole.
Oh, wow.
Bunting had the typical characteristics of a young serial killer, including being disruptive in class, bullying other kids, and killing animals.
Yep.
There was an article that went into some detail on what he did, and I didn't really want to go into it. So,
okay. Yeah.
We're not going to talk about it because it
Sounds
involved
good.
cats.
Oh, yeah. Let's not talk about that.
He alleged that when he was 8 years old, the older brother of a friend beat and sexually molested him, instilling in him a loathing for pedophiles and homosexuals.
Oh my gosh.
Bunting had what he dubbed a rock spider wall inside of his home. Pedophiles are referred to as rock spiders in Australian slang,
Oh,
which is frequently used in jails.
okay.
He kept a list of names and contact information for people that he thought might be pedophiles or homosexuals. The majority of these allegations were untrue and were based on unreliable rumors or his own assumptions. He occasionally called random members who were mentioned on his wall and verbally abused them, telling them they would get what's coming to them. There probably isn't a greater murdering gang boss out there. Like, he was praised for being a really good listener. He was friendly, sympathetic, and he was very motivating.
Oh my God.
He had a gift
What
for
a nice guy.
no. He had a gift for engaging people in conversation, making friends with them, and establishing a strong enough bond with them that they would essentially do anything that they asked of him. Robert Wagner, who was born on November 28th, 1971, in Parramatta, Snowtown. Oh, God, no. Robert Wagner, who was born on November 28th, 1971, in Parramatta, New South Wales, collaborated with John Bunting to commit the crimes in Snowtown. Despite only having admitted to 3 of the charges, he is currently serving 10 consecutive life terms.
Good.
He also had an intense hatred for pedophiles, stating that this was his reason for joining in.
Oh, sure.
He stated, pedophiles were doing terrible things to children. The authorities didn't do anything about it. I decided to take action. I took that action. Thank you.
Did he really say thank you?
Yep.
Oh my God.
This is true, despite the fact that Bunting's assertions that the victims had engaged in pedophilia were largely unsupported.
Yeah. I think he just wanted to kill people.
Yeah. Before the killing started in 1991, Wagner and Bunting first crossed paths. Wagner helped carry out the torture and murder of their victims with Bunting's encouragement. Only 2 members of the group, Wagner and Bunting, engaged in cannibalism.
Oh, was that for the pedophiles too?
You'll hear about it. The two of them prepared David Johnson, their last victim, and consumed some of his flesh.
Very,
Oh,
very nice.
so sorry. It just makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
James Vlasikis, who was born on December 24th, 1979, is currently incarcerated for his involvement in the killings and is serving 4 life sentences. Bunting, who is married to Vlasikis's mother, Elizabeth Harvey,
Okay.
is the stepfather of Vlasikis.
Okay.
Are we following?
Yes.
Okay. I know it's like a little confusing, but basically, 2 of the guys involved are now related by marriage.
Got it.
It was when he was 14 years old when he first encountered Bunting. Vlasikis was a methadone user and a heroin addict. Bunting and Vlasikis obviously shared a home, and during their time there, Bunting frequently expressed his loathing of pedophiles to Vlasikis, who subsequently admitted that his older brother had assaulted him while he was a teenager. Bunting replied by saying that they should criticize him for it. In the end, Vlasikis, Bunting, and Wagner killed his brother and his stepbrother.
Oh.
Vlasikis participated in the murder and torture of 2 other people in addition to his 2 brothers. He entered a guilty plea to each of the 4 charges, and in exchange for testifying at trial against both Bunting and Wagner, he was given a suppression order, keeping his name out of the news. Until now.
Until now.
The main witness for the Crown prosecution was actually Vlasikis.
Oh, okay.
The final member was Mark Hayden, who was born on December 4th, 1958, and was found guilty of helping the other 3 men dispose of 2 bodies, but was not found guilty of murder. One of those was his wife,
Oh,
Elizabeth Hayden. Despite aiding in the murders cover up, he was not determined to be responsible for her death. He also assisted in the removal of Vlasikis's brother's body.
wow.
The previous bank vault that the men had used to store the bodies was rented out by Hayden in 1999. For his offenses, he was given a 25-year term. The majority of the victims were either family members, friends, or acquaintances of the Snowtown murders, which I find to be a lot scarier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. I don't know why. I just find that to be a lot creepier.
No, I agree. It is. Yeah.
Although it wasn't their main motive for murder, the killers stole some of their victims' welfare payments in order to commit social security fraud and collect about $95,000.
Well, I mean, on the grand scheme of things, not as bad.
Yes. Accurate. Even though almost all of the accusations Bunting and Wagner made against their victims were untrue and unwarranted, they still believed they were on some sort of moral crusade against pedophiles. The murder spree occurred between 1994 and 1999.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm going to go into each of the victims.
Okay.
Okay. So first we have Clinton Trezise, who was 22 years old.
Oh, poor guy.
John Bunting's first victim was Trezise, whose body was discovered buried in a town close to Adelaide in 1994. Bunting, who suspected him of being a pedophile, killed him with either a hammer or a shovel. There's a couple variations. On an Australian television program, the body's discovery was mentioned and the case's unsolved status was brought up. As soon as Bunting noticed this, he boasted to his stepson Vlassicus about how it was his handiwork.
Oh gosh, of course. They always have to brag, right?
Yeah. The next one was Ray Davies, who was 26. Susanna Allen, a retiree, owned the land on which Davies allegedly slept in a caravan and sexually molested her grandkids.
Oh,
Wagner and Bunting both strangled him to death.
was that true?
That if he was a pedophile?
That he molested his grandkids.
I don't know.
Okay, that was just
Right. Like because
supposedly.
yeah,
Okay,
that's kind of just like
all of them.
yeah. He was placed in a bath and then strangled using a rope and a lever. They then pounded his genitalia with clubs before he passed away.
Oh my God.
And to make him suffer, they even used a pair of pliers to crush one of his toes.
Oh God.
The next one is Michael Gardner. He was 19 years old. Gardner's apparent crime was that he was gay.
Oh.
The adolescent was a cross-dresser who was openly gay, which aroused Bunting's hatred against homosexuals. He was subsequently killed by Wagner and Bunting, who strangled him.
Oh.
The next one was Barry Lane, 42 years old. Lane was formerly dating Wagner when he was murdered for being gay, which is odd considering that both Bunting and Wagner claimed they detested homosexuals.
Wait, he was dating
Yeah.
Wagner?
Yep.
I'm making a face, everyone.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. So, like, if that was the case, why didn't Bunting kill Wagner?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Lane's body was unfortunately covered in carpet after being strangled and tortured before being put inside one of the barrels. The next one was Thomas Trevelyan. Trevelyan. Age was unknown. His death was initially ruled a suicide before being linked to the Snowtown murders. In Adelaide, his body was discovered hanging from a tree. He was a paranoid schizophrenic with hallucinations, and he was also a former partner of Barry Lane and was accused of murdering him.
Oh.
So that last victim.
Oh.
Yeah. Really sad.
Yeah.
Next, we have Gavin Porter, who was 31. As they were both enrolled in the same methadone treatment, Porter briefly shared an apartment with Vlassicus. He was high on narcotics and working on his car when he passed out on the back seat. Then Bunting and Wagner both strangled him to death. Troy Yude is next. He was 21. He said that Vlassicus, who is Vlassicus's older brother, had sexually molested him while he was young. Yude was thought to have intellectual disabilities. The three men tortured him and repeatedly beat him with boards while he was unconscious before killing him. Before he passed away, Bunting made Yude apologize to Vlassicus. It was the first murder in which Vlassicus had a direct hand in.
Really?
Yeah, his brother.
Wow.
Frederick Brooks is next. He was 18 years old. Brooks was the son of Jody Elliott, who had previously been engaged to Bunting.
Oh.
Before being killed, Brooks was handcuffed, gagged, and tortured. This part's awful, awful, awful. His testicles received electric shots,
Oh God.
and a lit sparkler was pushed into his penis.
Oh my God. Guys are
Additionally,
sick.
like, it's horrifying. I hate this story. Sorry, everybody. Additionally, pliers were used to crush his toes, and cigarettes were used to burn his nose and ears.
Oh.
In the end, they simply let him suffocate to death after stuffing a rag into his mouth.
Oh my God.
Gary O'Dwyer was 29, and he was targeted due to a brain injury he acquired in a car accident. He was also on welfare, so definitely some motive there.
Mm.
The three men visited him at his home with the plan to have some drinks with him, but in actuality, they had planned to torture and kill him, which they did.
But like you said, because he got in a car accident, why do they care about that?
Because he had a brain injury. So they were targeting people that were weak.
Oh, okay.
So, like, that one guy was a methadone addict, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they were targeting him because he had a brain injury. So he wasn't all there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they thought, like, he won't really understand.
Gotcha.
So I think that was what was going on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Elizabeth Hayden was 37 years old, and it was a significant cause for police suspicion when she went missing.
Was she the first female?
Yeah, she was the wife or the fiance of one of them. Where is it? Because she's the first female. But yeah, she was, I think she was like Vlasikis's mom or stepmom, something like that.
Okay.
But she's married to Hayden,
Okay.
one of the guys that's involved, right? I think it's Mark Hayden. Yeah. So her disappearance caused the police to be like, huh, what the heck is going on?
That's weird.
Yeah. She allegedly became a target because she refused Bunting's advances because she was seeing Mark Hayden at the time.
Mm.
Despite the fact that her husband assisted in disposing of her remains, Bunting and Wagner were blamed for her death.
Hmm.
David Johnson was the last one, and he was 24 years old. Johnson was Vlasikis's stepbrother, and his stepbrother drove him into Snowtown where the other two murderers were waiting.
Hmm.
They battered and strangled him, then chopped up his body and put it in the barrels with the other 8 victims. Bunting and Wagner cannibalized some of Johnson's flesh because, in their own words, they hadn't had enough pleasure killing him.
Ew.
Yeah. Yeah. Horrible.
Ugh.
Despite the case's name, just one of the so-called Snowtown killings took place there. The remainder took place in various locations throughout South Australia. When they learned that a thorough criminal investigation was being conducted into the numerous disappearances, the murderers made the decision to transport the majority of the bodies to the barrels in Snowtown. Locals in the little village were suspicious of the strangers and strange vehicles and notified the police, who were then led to the grisly find inside of the bank vault. After a lengthy trial, the 4 men were detained, and 3 of them were ultimately charged with murder. Due to the volume of victims and information to be sorted through, it was the longest criminal trial in South Australia's history.
Wow.
It's crazy that we haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
The 3 primary offenders were all found guilty of murder and will spend the rest of their lives in Australian jails.
Good.
Mark Hayden, however, is currently serving a 25-year sentence as he was found to be not guilty of murder. So he's honestly probably already out.
Wow. That's terrifying.
To this day, Snowtown battles a dwindling population and a lasting dark reputation.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see why.
So sorry.
Yeah, that was awful. Thank you.
Welcome. Anytime. I love to. Please.
Well, do you have any jokes to help with that?
No, I have facts about redheads though.
Okay.
Well, my daughter's a redhead.
My
And
husband's a redhead.
oh yeah, I forgot about that. But anyway, so it just came up on my feed and I thought that it was like really interesting. So, um, ancient Greeks used to believe that redheads were going to become vampires,
Oh.
which is really weird.
Yeah, I wonder why.
There's a ginger phobia. Apparently, there are people afraid of redheads.
They're terrifying.
Redheads are also more prone to getting Parkinson's disease.
Oh, that's not good.
Um, Hitler forbade ginger people from getting married. Oh, this is like the worst one because you know how I'm like obsessed with ancient Egypt?
Yeah.
Apparently, they used to sacrifice redheads.
Oh no, Evie.
I know. And ginger people need 90% more anesthetic for surgeries.
I did know that. I did know
Yes.
that.
In some parts of Africa, it's still believed that ginger people are linked to witches.
Ooh.
During medieval times, they thought menstrual blood was dangerous. Some even say that it was poisonous to a man's penis.
Ah,
And if a woman was to have sex while menstruating, the child would be ginger.
that's hilarious. Oh,
So, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's the story. That's the facts.
I don't think I liked any of it, but thank you.
You're so welcome. I aim to please.
Well, if you want more of these great stories, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
And if you'd like to rate and review us, you can do so on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And if you'd like to email us, because we're terrible at posting our email link,
Oh, yeah, we always forget about that thing.
it is histories and mysteries 515 at gmail.com. Also, just a shout out if anybody would like to take over our social media, please let us know.
We really suck at it for some reason.
We are both very busy and we always forget to post stuff. So please help us.
Yeah, if you'd love to volunteer and help us, and
Yeah.
we would
Emphasis
really
on
appreciate it.
volunteer.
Yes, because we don't make money yet from this. But when we do, you'll be on the ground floor.
Yeah. I mean, we've made 80 cents so far. So
Woo, look at us go.
we're bringing in the big dough.
Well, we look forward to bringing you 2 new stories next week.
Bye.